In 1893, Berlin whispered of shadows that moved with intention, streets slick with rain reflecting gaslight that flickered like dying spirits. An aristocrat lived among the tombs, a man whose presence alone seemed to twist reality, his mansion carved from stone older than memory, walls etched with faded bloodstains and portraits whose eyes seemed to follow intruders with silent accusation. He was the cursed aristocrat, a figure both feared and unseen. Rumor said he dined among skulls and conversed with the dead. Neighbors spoke of cold drafts that carried whispers of his lineage. Children dared not approach the alleyways near his residence, for even the faintest glimpse promised nightmares that lingered long after sunset. The city itself recoiled, cobblestones vibrating under the weight of unseen steps, pigeons scattering as if sensing an aura of condemned intent. Merchants whispered of items disappearing, always near the tomb's perimeter, no thief ever caught. Only the shadow of the aristocrat's presence at night. The mansion became a vessel of silence punctuated by sudden thuds and a low, persistent moan, the kind of sound that raised hairs along the spine and pressed heavy upon the chest. Visitors who braved the edge of the property spoke of seeing shapes moving behind draped windows, shapes that vanished when confronted, and the faint metallic scent of blood lingering in the fog. Servants were scarce, none willing to remain more than a fortnight, yet the few who stayed returned with hollow eyes, murmuring of secret chambers where walls seemed to breathe and the very air hummed with voices long silenced. Each corridor held portraits of ancestors whose grim expressions suggested complicity, a lineage cursed not by wealth but by obsession and a thirst for the macabre. The aristocrat's habits were peculiar, wandering among gravestones at midnight, sometimes kneeling, sometimes speaking in tongues only he could comprehend. Neighbors reported candles flickering without breeze, shadows stretching unnaturally across the tombstones, the occasional faint wail of something neither man nor animal. His library contained tomes bound in human leather, writings describing rituals and executions, bloodletting and cult practices, all meticulously catalogued, as if he intended one day to merge history with legend with horror. The aristocrat's eyes were said to reflect the moonlight with a ghostly glow, pale and unwavering, capturing all who dared gaze too long. Children told tales of seeing him drift along the cemetery walls, cloak trailing like a veil of mist, his hand brushing tombstones as if acknowledging silent allies. The rich scent of decay and incense mingled in the corridors, penetrating even the cold stone streets outside. Berlin's night air thick with dread. Every clock tick, every footstep, every whisper seemed drawn toward him, as if the city itself conspired to carry his name through alleys and empty markets. The aristocrat spoke rarely, but with a voice that cut through fog like a knife, recounting histories of victims long vanished, curses whispered across generations, bloodshed memorialized in diaries he kept meticulously, each page a testament to the condemned, macabre fascination that defined his very existence. Letters addressed to no one, left open on mantels, contained chilling instructions for rituals, recipes for poisons and invocations of spirits. The local authorities dismissed rumors as superstition, yet even they hesitated near the mansion. Inexplicable events followed those who trespassed. Personal belongings found rearranged in grotesque patterns, mirrors shattered, faint cries echoing at dawn. Scholars who visited his library spoke of vertigo, nausea, as if the mansion itself resisted comprehension. Every artifact seemed infused with dread. The aristocrat's obsession extended to his attire, garments dark as night, adorned with insignia reminiscent of executioners and torturers. His gloves never removed, hands pale and skeletal, always touching books, skulls, or walls, as if channeling the essence of his cursed lineage. Berliners spoke in hushed tones of nights when fog rolled low over the city, when the aristocrat appeared at the windows, gazing silently at the streets below, children claiming to see him vanish into the mist only to reappear moments later. The mansion's gates, wrought iron twisted into grotesque patterns, rattled with no wind, shadows flitting along walls despite the absence of light. Servants described stairs collapsing under phantom weight, the fireplace roaring without flame, the air thick with whispers, each corner of the mansion a stage for unseen horrors. Even the cats and dogs of nearby homes refused the area, cowering or fleeing, as though the very animals knew of the cursed aristocrat's dominion. His fascination with death and secrecy became legend. Scholars documenting the period spoke cautiously, aware that much remained unverifiable. The aristocrat existed in a space between reality and nightmare, a figure whose life intertwined with the macabre, whose very breath seemed to carry tales of murder, victims, and cursed destinies. Berlin became a city under his shadow, cobblestone alleys echoing with imagined screams, markets quieting when he passed unseen, and every corner whispered of tragedies unspoken. The aristocrat moved as if guided by a rhythm older than the city itself. Each step calculated, deliberate, the air bending around him, fog clinging, whispers answering, each action a performance of dark intent. Objects shifted mysteriously, books misplaced, candles extinguished. The mansion itself alive with the residue of past atrocities. The aristocrat's lineage reinforced the narrative. Ancestors documented as cruel, macabre figures whose legacies of bloodshed and torture lingered in every brick and beam. Visitors reported seeing shadowy figures moving in hallways where no one existed, hearing cries from sealed rooms, faint footsteps echoing long after they had left. The very soil of the surrounding cemetery appeared disturbed, as though rituals had been performed to bind life and death. Berliners claimed nights became colder near the mansion. Fog thickening, lights dimming, the city holding its breath. Every whispered story, every rumor, every glimpse through misted windows feeding into the legend of the cursed aristocrat who lived among the tombs. A figure both forgotten and immortal, haunted by his own creation, a man whose life and death, reality and nightmare were inseparable. A chilling prelude to the horrors that would follow as his story continued to unfold, leaving Berlin suspended in a web of dread and fascination, where history and horror converged into one unrelenting shadow, each brick and gravestone bearing silent witness to the haunted existence of a man who had vanished into legend yet remained ever present, a curse upon the living and the dead alike. As the nights deepened in Berlin, fog clinging to the cobblestones like spectral fingers, the aristocrat's presence grew more pronounced, a shadow among shadows, unseen yet undeniably felt. Those who wandered too close to the mausoleum spoke of chills that penetrated bone, whispers carried on the wind telling of vanished victims, the air thick with the scent of decay and candle smoke, every footstep echoing like a warning. His mansion a labyrinth of stone and sorrow, corridors twisting beyond reason, each door leading to chambers saturated with the past, portraits watching, candles flickering though no breeze stirred. Servants who dared linger spoke of fleeting glimpses of figures draped in black, disappearing into walls, staircases bending, floorboards groaning under weight unseen. Nights filled with the macabre rhythm of life entwined with death. The aristocrat's routines ritualistic, precise, each movement calculated to maintain dominion over his haunted domain. Scholars who documented the area noted the eerie perfection of the house, walls lined with grim artifacts, skulls polished and placed in deliberate arrangements, books bound in dark leather containing accounts of executions, bloodshed, curses, each page inked in meticulous detail, occasionally smeared with dried crimson, as though history itself bled through the manuscript. The aristocrat moved with an uncanny grace, gliding through shadows, hands trailing along walls, fingers brushing the cold stone, listening for echoes of the past, his presence bending the environment. Fog curling in unnatural patterns around him, candles extinguishing at his approach, portraits tilting as though bowing to him. Neighbors reported hearing low chants, guttural and ancient, emanating from the mansion in the hours past midnight. Some claimed the air thickened, fog turning to mist that seemed almost alive, swirling around those who dared observe. Berlin itself responding to his will, markets dimming, street lamps flickering, animals fleeing, all orchestrated in the silence of night. The aristocrat's fascination with death extended beyond the mansion, graveyards meticulously arranged, stones turned just so, paths cleared in patterns that mirrored diagrams from occult manuscripts, symbols etched in hidden corners, cryptic instructions for rituals long forgotten. Legends told that he communicated with spirits, seeking counsel from the victims of his own lineage, the living and dead intertwined in his obsessions. Tales of neighbors who caught glimpses of him emerging from mausoleum crypts, robes flowing, eyes glinting with a pale light, whispers following like shadows. The city's children warning each other of the cursed man among the tombs, daring each other to approach and some never returning from the dares. Parents recounting in hushed voices of missing children, of cries heard at night that ceased abruptly. Authorities investigating found no trace, only the pervasive aura of dread lingering. Scholars visiting the mansion described the sensation of time stretching, walls breathing, floors vibrating as if the house itself was alive, each artifact carrying weight, objects shifting when not observed, mirrors reflecting movements that were not present. The aristocrat cataloging each occurrence, as if maintaining dominion over both reality and illusion. Letters discovered in hidden chambers revealed plans for rituals, involving blood, recitation of forbidden texts, and invocation of entities that defied comprehension. Servants recalled being compelled to remain silent under threat of unspoken terror, rooms shifting, doors locking spontaneously, shadows moving against logic, nights that seemed endless. The aristocrat wandering, reading aloud, conversing with emptiness, the fog outside thickening, enveloping the city in a spectral shroud. Berliners spoke of hearing sobs in the distance, faint screams that vanished upon approach, animals refusing to enter streets near the mansion, birds scattering in unison, signs of a presence beyond the natural. The aristocrat's family history intertwined with tales of torture, execution, macabre indulgence, bloodshed spanning generations. He embodied these legacies, living rituals with precision, feeding the cursed lineage, scholars writing cautiously, aware that verifying events was impossible. Legends growing, reality blurring with myth, every witness adding details of terror, whispers of murders long forgotten, vanishings that no record could confirm. Berlin's nights consumed by fear, streets quieting, fog thickening, the mansion standing sentinel over shadows, the aristocrat observing all, orchestrating fear like a conductor, every creak, whisper, flicker of candle and note in his symphony of dread. Victims long dead, victims vanished without trace, echoes of the cursed following each passerby, the city holding collective breath, the aristocrat a master of fear, his life a testament to obsession, his existence entwined with the haunted, the forgotten, the macabre, every element meticulously curated, Berlin itself a stage for his rituals, a city under a subtle tyranny of shadow and whisper, each moment designed to ensure legend, myth and fear intertwined so that even in memory, the cursed aristocrat would live among the tombs forever, his domain untouched by time. His victims remembered only in silence, the fog, the chill, and the unrelenting presence of something condemned, unseen, yet palpably alive, a dark echo of history, a whisper of tragedy, a shadow over Berlin that would not fade. The aristocrat's lineage traced back centuries, a family steeped in wealth, influence, and whispered tales of cruelty. Berlin's high society regarded them with a mix of reverence and unease, each generation producing figures who dabbled in the macabre. Some vanished under mysterious circumstances, others left scars upon the city's memory, their mansion an enduring symbol of power and darkness, constructed on land once sacred, now entwined with graves older than the family name. The cursed aristocrat inherited not only riches but a legacy of obsession and darkness. Tutors recalled his childhood fascination with mortality, collecting bones from forgotten graves, reading diaries of condemned criminals. He seemed drawn to the morbid as if the very air around him guided his curiosity. By adolescence, he wandered graveyards alone, learning to navigate tombs with a precision that unnerved caretakers. His family attempted to suppress his habits, offering lessons in art, music, and diplomacy, yet nothing diverted his attention from death, decay, and the rituals that fascinated him. Neighbors remembered a boy who spoke to statues and gravestones, leaving offerings of candles and blood-red flowers. His tutors reported strange noises emanating from the cellars and attics, doors slamming when no wind blew, shadows moving against candlelight. Servants claimed objects relocated themselves, whispers echoing through halls with no source. By his 18th birthday, he was already considered a figure apart, attending social events only to disappear into dark corners, returning with a haunted look, a notebook filled with sketches of crypts, symbols, and records of executions. Berlin's police received anonymous tips over the years of disappearances linked vaguely to his family. Investigations yielded no results. Rumors spread of secret passageways and chambers, yet the aristocrat's influence ensured no accusation ever stuck. He seemed untouchable. The mansion itself a fortress of mystery, the architecture designed to confuse and intimidate, corridors looping back on themselves, hidden doors, staircases leading to false chambers, windows overlooking tombs where shadows shifted independently of moonlight. The family library contained texts bound in human leather, manuscripts describing poisons, executions, rituals, and curses meticulously preserved, each page annotated in his precise hand, detailing history, methodology, and predicted outcomes. The aristocrat spent hours studying these works, experimenting quietly with chemicals and incantations, producing minor accidents that terrified the household. Servants refusing to enter certain rooms, children hiding when he passed, neighbors reporting faint cries at night. The family kept silent, aware that exposure risked scandal and ruin. His obsessions grew after inheriting the mansion. The walls seemed to absorb his focus, each stone whispering secrets of the dead. He cataloged every room, item, and shadow, turning the house into a living archive of dread. Artifacts from the family's history, trophies of past misdeeds adorn tables and shelves, skulls polished and placed deliberately. Manuscripts of forbidden knowledge stacked in towering columns, the air thick with incense and the scent of decay, his personal quarters sealed with locks and wards, only he possessing keys. The aristocrat's bedroom itself resembled a crypt, candlelight flickering across walls painted with the macabre, portraits of ancestors staring from gold-framed canvases. Eyes seemingly following movement, he slept among these reminders, dreams filled with echoes of executions, vanishing victims, and whispered instructions from long-dead relatives. The aristocrat's meals often solitary, prepared under strict rituals, consumed quietly, occasionally accompanied by faint chanting. Servants dared not enter. Windows open to graveyard air, the mansion at night alive with the rhythm of hidden life. A low murmur from below stairs. Faint footsteps pacing hallways, furniture shifting subtly as though guided by invisible hands. Berliners reported observing dim light through windows in rooms that should have been empty, shadows moving independently always when the fog thickened. The aristocrat's fascination with poisons extended to experimentation on animals and later, human victims. His studies methodical, cataloging reactions, writing notes on the effectiveness of toxins, traces of suffering meticulously recorded. Some items hidden in secret cabinets, others displayed as warnings to those who might enter. The aristocrat's interactions with the outside world limited. He communicated through letters, delivered by trusted servants, messages cryptic, sometimes containing instructions, other times recounting histories of execution and bloodshed. Berlin society speculated endlessly. The mansion a locus of whispered tales, children daring one another to peek through gates, some disappearing never to be spoken of again. Historians would later uncover fragments of records indicating his influence extended beyond the mansion, mysterious deaths, vanishings, and curses attached to his name. Yet no formal documentation survived, as though the aristocrat ensured history itself would bend to preserve his legend. The family's wealth facilitated these obscurations, legal and political influence preventing investigations. Berlin's authorities aware but constrained. The aristocrat's obsession never waned, each generation of family complicit, maintaining the facade, understanding that exposure would unravel centuries of control. Yet even they feared his singular focus. Reports suggest that within the mansion, walls seemed to breathe, air thick with whispered instructions, shadows shifting with purpose. Servants experienced hallucinations or visions of past atrocities, some refusing to return. Those who did spoke only in hushed tones. The aristocrat's influence seeped beyond architecture, into the minds of those nearby, inducing paranoia, dread, fascination. Every artifact, every symbol meticulously placed to evoke fear, respect, and obedience. The mansion became a microcosm of his dark imagination, Berlin itself a stage upon which his presence resonated. Rumors of his nocturnal excursions among tombs spread, witnesses recalling glimpses of a cloaked figure moving among gravestones, vanishing instantly, footsteps echoing where none should exist, the air heavy with fog and the scent of incense, candles flickering in unnatural patterns. The aristocrat consolidating power over fear itself. Victims vanished without trace. Curses whispered into the night. Families and individuals alike learning to avoid paths near his estate. Berlin adapting unconsciously to his shadow. Commerce and life bending around the mansion's presence. Scholars and journalists attempting entry often fled, unable to reconcile the oppressive atmosphere with reason. The aristocrat's obsession with death, lineage, and cursed rituals became a living history. His life a continuous performance of terror, domination, and macabre fascination. Berlin holding its collective breath, history and horror merging, every day under the unseen dominion of a man who had long embraced the shadows as his rightful domain. Within the mansion, the aristocrat's experiments grew darker, each ritual more precise, more calculated. His fascination with poisons and curses extending to living beings, cats and dogs often disappearing, only to return days later with a haunted look. Servants reported seeing them avoid certain rooms, shivering despite warmth, objects arranged in arcane patterns, mirrors reflecting images that should not exist, walls seemingly breathing, the air thick with a palpable sense of dread. He catalogued every detail meticulously, notebooks filled with observations of reactions, effects, and timings. The aristocrat's study of death and decay became an obsession that consumed every hour, each day a step deeper into the macabre. Berlin's citizens whispered of screams carried by the fog, Vanishing neighbors, unexplained illnesses, the mansion a magnet for fear, yet the aristocrat remained invisible. A shadow blending with shadow, his presence known only through the traces left behind. Letters recovered later revealed correspondence with occultists across Europe, discussing poisons, rituals, and curses, each note precise, careful, revealing a mind obsessed with control and the supernatural. The aristocrat's family tolerated his actions silently, aware that any intervention could unravel generations of secrecy. Guests attending family events often felt an oppressive air, shadows lengthening unnaturally, whispers of vanished victims permeating the hall. The aristocrat observed quietly, noting reactions, adjusting behavior subtly. Berlin itself seemed to bend under his influence. Cobblestones damp, fog thickening in his presence, animals fleeing, clocks halting briefly, all unnoticed by those unaware of the mansion's cursed occupant. Historians would later remark upon this, suggesting that a combination of fear, superstition, and psychological manipulation kept the city aligned with his rhythm. Within the mansion, hidden chambers held evidence of past atrocities, torture devices carefully preserved, symbols etched in walls with meticulous detail, candles flickering as if in response to unseen forces, windows revealing shadows of figures long dead. The aristocrat moving among them as a conductor among phantoms, servants obeying out of terror rather than loyalty, each task performed with precision. Yet whispered warnings persisted, the mansion's architecture itself a labyrinth designed to disorient and subdue, corridors looping endlessly, staircases leading to false chambers, ceilings adorned with paintings of execution, death and the macabre. Every element a lesson in fear. The aristocrat's personal collection included skulls polished and arranged according to occult numerology, manuscripts detailing execution techniques, poisons, rituals, all catalogued with scientific rigor. The aristocrat performed nightly routines, wandering tombs, whispering to the dead, tracing symbols with gloved hands, the air heavy with incense and the metallic scent of blood. Neighbors claimed faint chants drifted on the wind, unintelligible but chilling. Fog curling unnaturally around the mansion, shadows twisting in patterns that defied logic. Berlin's streets quieted as if anticipating the aristocrat's movements. Children dared not venture near. Merchants avoided certain alleyways. Rumors of disappearances circulating with each passing week. The aristocrat's influence extended beyond the mansion. Secret correspondences indicated a network of followers, cult-like in nature, performing tasks in his name, furthering rituals, collecting victims, maintaining the family's dark legacy. Even Berlin's authorities remained powerless. Interventions failing mysteriously, records lost, evidence disappearing. The aristocrats control both psychological and supernatural, a blend of fear, superstition, and meticulously crafted horror. Scholars visiting the mansion often described sensations of nausea, vertigo, visions of past atrocities, each room seeming alive, walls breathing, floors vibrating, shadows shifting, mirrors reflecting impossible images, letters and notes hinting at a systematic obsession with death and domination. The aristocrat's life a continuous enactment of macabre rituals, meticulous recording of victims, poisons, and curses. The mansion an archive of horror. Berlin itself transformed into a stage for his terrifying experiments. Rumors of his nocturnal excursions among tombs spread, witnesses recalling glimpses of a cloaked figure moving silently, vanishing instantly, footsteps echoing where none should exist, the air thick with fog and scent of incense, candles flickering unnaturally, the aristocrat consolidating his influence over fear itself. Victims vanished without trace, curses whispered into the night, families learning to avoid the mansion's shadow, Berlin unconsciously bending to his presence. Scholars and journalists attempting entry fleeing in terror. Unable to reconcile oppressive atmosphere with reason, the aristocrat's obsession with death, lineage, and cursed rituals became living history. Life a continuous performance of terror, domination, and macabre fascination. The mansion alive with whispers and shadows. Berlin holding collective breath, reality blurring with legend. The aristocrat a master of horror, his life and death inseparable from the haunted, the forgotten, the cursed. Every element meticulously curated to ensure legacy. Every brick, artifact, and shadow reinforcing fear. The aristocrat shaping the city as his domain. Ghosts and shadows dancing to his rhythm. Berlin's fog heavy, streets echoing with imagined screams. Markets dimming in his unseen presence, each day and night adding layers to his legend. A cursed figure living among tombs, feared, avoided, remembered in silence. His existence a continuous testament to obsession, terror, and the macabre. the aristocrat's influence woven into Berlin's history, a dark thread linking past, present, and inevitable tragedies yet to unfold. The mansion a monument to fear, the family complicit in silence, the city held hostage by shadow, fog, and whispers, the aristocrat continuing rituals, cataloging victims, perfecting poisons, communicating with unseen forces, every element reinforcing his cursed presence. Berlin, a city suspended in dread, haunted by a man who had embraced darkness fully, leaving the living, the dead, and the city itself under the weight of his legacy. Rumors of the cursed aristocrat spread through Berlin like a shadow crawling over the city. Whispered tales of vanishings, strange sounds, and sightings in the dead of night growing with each retelling. Children dared one another to approach the mansion, some never returning. Families spoke in hushed tones of eerie noises drifting through alleyways. Neighbors reported lights flickering in rooms where no one was present, a faint metallic scent carried on the wind. The aristocrat's presence permeating the streets, shaping fear like a living entity. Merchants adjusted their hours, avoiding paths near the mansion, stray animals cowering at the sight of the gates, servants recounting chilling tales of the interior, objects moving without explanation, mirrors reflecting images that shifted independently, corridors that seemed to lengthen and twist, the mansion itself alive with whispered curses, the aristocrat orchestrating each event with meticulous precision, fog thickening at night, curling along cobblestones as if drawn to the estate, a spectral invitation for those foolish enough to wander near. Scholars and occultists drawn by the rumors sought access only to flee, reporting nausea, vertigo, visions of long-dead ancestors and shadows moving against logic, each failed visit reinforcing the legend. Letters discovered later revealing the aristocrat's fascination with psychological manipulation, exploiting fear as a tool, cataloging reactions, and shaping perceptions of terror. Berlin's authorities grew increasingly uneasy, unable to intervene. Witnesses of disappearances adding to the aura, the aristocrat's influence extending beyond the mansion, clandestine networks of followers assisting in maintaining rituals, collecting victims, spreading whispers, the city unknowingly complicit, every shadow and fog a reminder of his presence. Accounts detailed the precision of his routines. Midnight walks among tombs, conversations with the dead, tracing symbols in the earth, candles flickering in response to unseen energies, air thick with incense and decay. A macabre symphony conducted by the aristocrat himself. Reports of strange phenomena, footsteps echoing in empty halls, doors opening and closing, objects levitating briefly, adding layers to the narrative of fear. Neighbors daring not approach, merchants closing early, children hiding, Berlin itself adapting to the rhythm of his existence. Accounts of servants pushed beyond endurance, some fleeing permanently, others returned pale, whispering of shadows that seemed alive. Whispers of instructions and secrets from rooms that should have remained silent. The aristocrat maintaining absolute control over both reality and perception. His obsession with poisons, rituals, and curses continuing unabated, cataloging results meticulously, creating a body of knowledge intertwined with terror. Historians later piecing fragments together noted that even minor disturbances, letters, misplaced objects, sudden noises, contributed to the citywide fear. The mansion a central node in a network of dread, each act intentional, each shadow choreographed. Berlin's citizens adjusting behavior, unaware of the aristocrat's careful manipulation. Rumors evolved into legend, vanishing families, strange deaths, tales of whispered commands carried by fog, all credited to the mansion's cursed occupant. Scholars attempting to document occurrences often fled, unable to reconcile the oppressive atmosphere. Servants detailed nightly rituals, candles arranged in occult patterns, whispers recited in languages long dead, every action precise, every victim observed, each interaction catalogued. The aristocrat's obsession transforming the mansion into a living record of dread. Correspondence discovered posthumously revealing a meticulous mind obsessed with control. The city itself a stage for psychological experimentation. Reports of nocturnal excursions to tombs confirming rituals, shadows moving independently, the fog carrying sounds of chanting, metallic scent of blood lingering, neighbors occasionally glimpsing a cloaked figure vanishing instantly, footsteps echoing without origin, animals fleeing, clocks halting briefly, candles flickering in unnatural sequences, the aristocrat consolidating influence over fear, victims disappearing without trace, curses whispered into the night, families avoiding paths near the mansion, Berlin adapting unconsciously, life bending around his presence. Scholars and journalists attempting entry, often fleeing, unable to reconcile oppressive atmosphere with reason, obsession with death, lineage, and cursed rituals forming living history. Life a continuous performance of terror, domination, and macabre fascination. The mansion alive with whispers and shadows. Berlin holding collective breath, reality blurring with legend. The aristocrat a master of horror, life and death inseparable from the haunted, the forgotten, and the cursed. Every element meticulously curated to ensure legacy. Every brick, artifact, and shadow reinforcing fear, shaping the city as his domain. Ghosts and shadows dancing to his rhythm. Berlin's fog heavy, streets echoing with imagined screams. Markets dimming in his unseen presence, each day and night adding layers to his legend. A cursed figure living among tombs. Feared, avoided, remembered in silence. Existence a continuous testament to obsession, terror, and the macabre influence woven into Berlin's history. A dark thread linking past, present, and inevitable tragedies yet to unfold. The mansion a monument to fear. The family complicit in silence. The city held hostage by shadow, fog, and whispers. The aristocrat continuing rituals, cataloging victims, perfecting poisons, communicating with unseen forces, every element reinforcing his cursed presence. Berlin suspended in dread, haunted by a man who embraced darkness fully, leaving the living, the dead, and the city itself under the weight of his legacy. As the aristocrat's influence deepened, Berlin became a city aware of fear without understanding its source. Shadows lengthened unnaturally along cobblestone streets, fog curling in deliberate patterns, whispers of vanished neighbors echoing in empty alleys, children daring one another to approach the mansion, only to recoil in terror, families recounting faint screams drifting from sealed windows, merchants closing shops early, avoiding paths near the cursed estate, animals fleeing the vicinity, every element of life bending subtly to the presence of the aristocrat. Scholars and journalists attempting investigation overwhelmed by oppressive atmosphere. Nausea, vertigo, hallucinations common among those who dared the mansion's interior. Corridors shifting, shadows moving against logic, mirrors reflecting impossible images, candles extinguishing spontaneously, the air heavy with incense, decay, and metallic scent. Objects rearranged mysteriously. Servants coerced into silence, performing tasks with precision while terrified. Rituals conducted nightly. Symbols traced on floors and walls. Whispers recited in ancient tongues. Poisons tested with meticulous observation. Victims catalogued with chilling attention to detail. Nocturnal excursions to tombs observed only by moonlight. Shadows moving independently. Fog thickening around their paths. Letters discovered posthumously detailing networks of followers. Cult-like in nature, assisting with rituals. Spreading rumors, collecting victims. Extending the aristocrat's reach. Berlin itself unknowingly complicit. Rumors escalating into legend. Vanishings unexplained. Strange deaths unrecorded. Each incident reinforcing the mythos. Historians later piecing together fragments concluded a careful orchestration. The aristocrat manipulating perception, exploiting fear as a tool, citywide anxiety maintained with precision, neighbors reporting glimpses of cloaked figures moving silently among tombstones, vanishing instantly, footsteps echoing without origin, candles flickering in unnatural sequences, clocks halting, air thick with whispers, metallic scent of blood lingering, fog carrying faint chanting, the mansion alive with unseen energy, shadows dancing to an unseen rhythm, victims vanishing without trace, curses whispered into the night, Berlin adapting unconsciously, streets quieting, markets dimming, life bending to the rhythm of fear, scholars and journalists fleeing, unable to reconcile oppressive atmosphere with reason, the aristocrat's obsession transforming the mansion into a living archive of terror, cataloging every reaction, every fear, every minor disturbance, correspondence detailing meticulous observations, rituals, and planned manipulations, the mansion a microcosm of horror, Berlin its stage, the aristocrat a master orchestrator, existence blending reality and nightmare, life and death inseparable, every element curated to maintain legacy, every shadow, brick, and artifact reinforcing dread, families complicit in silence, city held hostage by fear, whispers, and shadows, nightly rituals continuing, poisons perfected, unseen forces communicated with, victims catalogued, traces left as warnings, fog and chill thickening around the estate, the aristocrat moving with spectral grace among tombs, whispers following like echoes, animals avoiding paths near the mansion, Berliners recounting faint cries at night, doors closing on their own, floors vibrating, walls shifting subtly, mirrors reflecting impossible visions, objects levitating, servants obeying out of terror rather than loyalty, corridors twisting unnaturally, ceilings adorned with macabre depictions of execution and bloodshed, every room a lesson in fear. Artifacts arranged with occult precision, skulls placed according to numerology, manuscripts describing poisons, curses, executions meticulously annotated, candlelight flickering in response to unseen energies, fog thickening, shadows stretching and twisting, the aristocrat consolidating influence over fear, every detail planned, every moment rehearsed, Berlin suspended in dread, the city adjusting unconsciously, the mansion a hub of terror, legend merging with reality, whispers of vanished neighbors and distant screams, the aristocrat's nocturnal excursions among tombs feeding myth, the city holding its collective breath, every day adding layers to his influence, every night extending the reach of terror, life bending to the rhythm of obsession, terror, and the macabre, the aristocrat remaining unseen yet palpably present, victims vanishing, curses whispered into the fog, shadows stretching to accommodate his presence, Berlin haunted by one man's obsession with death, lineage and control, the mansion alive with whispers and energy, history and horror intertwined, life a continuous enactment of terror, domination and macabre fascination, the aristocrat shaping fear, legacy cemented in silence, shadows, fog, and vanished souls. Berlin suspended indefinitely under the weight of his cursed existence. Every brick, every artifact, every shadow reinforcing dread. Existence itself a testament to obsession. Victims long vanished. Horrors meticulously catalogued. Rituals continuing. The aristocrat's presence dominating both living and dead. The city caught in a web of fear, whispers, and shadows. Legend and reality converging. Leaving Berlin a stage for terror orchestrated by a man who lived among the tombs. Cursed, feared, unforgettable, a master of the macabre. The night of the aristocrat's most infamous act descended upon Berlin like a suffocating fog. Whispers in the city carried warnings that went unheeded, the mansion alive with anticipation. Shadows deepening in every corner, candles flickering as if aware of the approaching horror. Servants trembling, aware that something beyond comprehension would unfold. The aristocrat moved through corridors with deliberate grace. Hands gloved, eyes reflecting pale moonlight. A collection of poisons, ritual implements, and cursed objects arranged meticulously in the central chamber, the air thick with incense and metallic tang, the fog outside pressing against windows, carrying with it the scent of fear, the aristocrat reciting incantations in languages forgotten by time, voice low, rhythmic, the walls themselves seeming to pulse in response. Outside, Berlin remained unaware, streets eerily silent, children huddled at home, merchants shuttering shops early, stray animals avoiding paths near the mansion. The aristocrat's servants obeyed silently, eyes hollow, movements precise, understanding that deviation could mean death. In the inner sanctum, candles formed patterns on the floor, skulls positioned according to occult instructions, blood carefully prepared, the aristocrat performing rituals perfected over decades, catalogued meticulously, each movement a step toward a goal known only to him. A figure appeared at the threshold, one who had dared to follow. Vanishing instantly in the shadows as if swallowed by the mansion itself, whispers filling the room. The metallic scent of blood growing stronger, shadows stretching unnaturally. The aristocrat paused, eyes reflecting a ghostly glow, his hand tracing symbols on the floor, incantations rising to a fevered pitch. The atmosphere charged, a presence both unseen and oppressive. The mansion seeming to breathe, floors vibrating under invisible weight, mirrors reflecting impossible visions. Servants cowering, objects levitating briefly, the aristocrat's focus unbroken, cataloging each reaction, each sound, each flicker of candlelight. Berlin's fog outside thickening, curling like fingers around the city, as if the entire metropolis awaited the climax of his dark performance. Victims drawn to the mansion through means unknown, their terror feeding the ritual. Shadows lengthening in anticipation, whispers of ancestors echoing from portraits. Walls groaning softly, the aristocrat speaking in low, deliberate tones, recounting histories of execution, vanishings, bloodshed, his voice carrying authority over life and death. The air dense with expectation, candles casting long shadows that danced unnaturally, skulls reflecting light with eerie glimmers, the aristocrat preparing instruments, poisons, and implements for the culmination of decades of obsession, servants silently assisting under compulsion, each step calculated, each movement rehearsed, the mansion itself a stage for horror. Outside the city remained unaware, yet within the chambers time seemed to bend, reality twisting under the weight of ritual. The aristocrat's hand traced final symbols, chanting reaching a crescendo, a presence manifesting unseen but palpably alive, fog pressing against windows, metallic scent thickening, shadows coalescing into forms, victims trembling, servants frozen, the mansion vibrating subtly every breath, every heartbeat synchronized with the aristocrat's intent. Berlin unknowingly participating in the rhythm of fear, whispers carrying through the fog, rumors solidifying into terror, the aristocrat moving with spectral precision, eyes reflecting the moon, hands steady, rituals executed with meticulous attention, poisons applied, curses uttered, the culmination of years of obsession manifesting in a night of horror, the mansion alive with energy, shadows dancing, candles flickering, mirrors reflecting impossible visions, air thick with incense, decay and fear, servants obeying, victims paralyzed, whispers of ancestors urging completion, the aristocrat cataloging reactions, measuring terror, observing the interplay of life, death and the unseen. Outside Berlin slept, oblivious to the climactic horrors within, yet the fog carried echoes of cries, metallic scent, whispers, every detail of terror orchestrated to perfection, shadows stretching unnaturally, objects moving, mirrors reflecting impossible events, candles reacting to unseen presence, floors vibrating subtly, the aristocrat a conductor of fear, each movement deliberate, each reaction catalogued, every breath, every flicker of candlelight, every whisper contributing to the final tableau of horror, the mansion a living entity, feeding upon itself and the city, Berlin unknowingly complicit, victims drawn, servants performing under compulsion, shadows and fog enacting rituals older than memory, the aristocrat's hand steady, eyes glowing, incantations reaching peak intensity, metallic scent overwhelming, whispers of vanished ancestors merging with cries of living victims, the culmination of centuries of cursed lineage manifesting, the aristocrat achieving a harmony of terror, domination, and ritual, Berlin's fog thickening, shadows coalescing, whispers of vanished and condemned echoing, the mansion alive with every element of the macabre, the aristocrat orchestrating a climax that would define his legend, victims terrified, servants obedient, candles and skulls aligned with occult precision, mirrors reflecting impossible horrors, floors vibrating, walls groaning, the air thick with fear and ritual, the aristocrat's presence absolute, every detail meticulously curated, the city, the mansion, the shadows, and the fog all participants in the culmination of a life devoted to the cursed, the haunted, and the macabre. The ritual reached its apex as Berlin lay shrouded in fog, the mansion alive with the weight of centuries, shadows twisting unnaturally across walls, candles flickering in synchronized patterns, mirrors reflecting impossible visions, the metallic scent of blood saturating the air, servants frozen in terror, victims paralyzed by unseen forces, the aristocrat moving with spectral grace, hands gloved, eyes reflecting the pale light of the moon, his voice chanting incantations that reverberated through stone corridors, walls seemingly vibrating, shadows deepening, every object arranged to perfection, skulls positioned precisely, implements of poison and torture in calculated alignment, the mansion itself a living participant in the macabre display. Outside, Berlin's streets eerily silent, only fog curling like fingers around cobblestones, whispers carried by wind, rumors of vanished neighbors solidifying into fear, the aristocrat's presence dominant, a force both unseen and palpable, victims trembling as rituals invoked long-forgotten curses, shadows coalescing into forms, shapes moving independently of logic, mirrors reflecting phantoms, servants obeying every subtle command, every movement reinforcing terror, the air thick with incense, decay, and anticipation, the aristocrat cataloging reactions meticulously, each flicker of candlelight, every gasp, every shiver measured. Berlin unknowingly drawn into the rhythm of his obsession, whispers of ancestors echoing through portraits, walls groaning subtly, floors vibrating under invisible weight, the aristocrat tracing final symbols, chanting reaching fevered intensity, the mansion pulsating alive with ritual energy, shadows bending toward him, candles responding to unseen forces, victims caught in the apex of horror, metallic scent overpowering, whispers merging with cries, the aristocrat observing, recording, orchestrating the culmination of decades of obsession. Outside, fog thickening, streets quieting, animals fleeing, clocks halting briefly, Berlin suspended unknowingly within the performance of terror, every detail of life and death meticulously choreographed, shadows lengthening, objects levitating briefly, mirrors distorting reality, servants performing under compulsion, whispers echoing from walls, ancestral voices guiding, victims caught between life and unseen forces, the aristocrat's hands tracing precise movements, poisons applied with methodical attention, curses uttered in languages forgotten. The mansion a stage for his dominion, the city an unwitting participant, fog pressing against windows, shadows dancing to a rhythm known only to him, every heartbeat, every breath synchronized with ritual intent. Berlin unknowingly complicit, whispers and cries traveling through alleys, terror spreading without origin, the aristocrat's presence absolute, the mansion alive with sound, smell and shadow, objects shifting subtly, mirrors reflecting impossible horrors, candles extinguishing and reigniting in patterns, floors vibrating, walls groaning, the aristocrat moving silently among victims, cataloging reactions, adjusting rituals with precise intention, the climax of life devoted to death, curse, and control, shadows intertwining with victims, servants and mansion alike. Berlin held its collective breath, reality bending within the mansion, the aristocrat's obsession manifesting in a terrifying crescendo, whispers of vanished ancestors merging with cries of the living, shadows deepening, fog thickening, metallic scent overwhelming, candles flickering in eerie synchronicity, mirrors reflecting the impossible, floors vibrating with unearthly rhythm, walls responding, whispers echoing, objects moving subtly, the mansion alive with energy, victims caught in apex of horror, servants obedient, the aristocrat orchestrating every element with exacting precision, shadows bending unnaturally, fog curling like spectral fingers, Berlin unknowingly participating, streets silent, alleys empty, animals fleeing, clocks halting, the aristocrat's hand steady, eyes glowing pale, incantations reaching peak intensity, rituals perfected over decades, culmination of cursed lineage manifesting, terror absolute, mansion alive with whispers, shadows and energy, every object, every skull, every implement of poison, every symbol contributing to performance, the aristocrat a master conductor of fear, life and death inseparable, victims paralyzed, servants obedient, Berlin suspended in fog and dread, whispers merging with cries, shadows dancing to unseen rhythm, mansion vibrating subtly, every detail meticulously curated. The climax a terrifying testament to obsession, domination, and the macabre, the aristocrat achieving harmony of terror, every brick, shadow, and artifact reinforcing dread, the city unknowingly complicit, the mansion a living entity, rituals complete yet energy lingering, victims forever marked, shadows and fog retaining imprint of horror, Berlin haunted by one man's obsession with death, lineage and cursed mastery, legend cemented in silence, shadows, fog, and vanished souls, the aristocrat triumphant in final execution of centuries-long obsession, a master of the macabre whose presence defined both mansion and city, leaving Berlin suspended under the weight of cursed legacy. The morning after the aristocrat's climactic ritual, Berlin awoke to a city subtly altered, fog still lingering over cobblestones, the metallic scent of blood faint but persistent, whispers of vanished neighbors spreading through households, families recounting cries heard in the night, merchants wary, closing shops earlier, children trembling as they dared to recount glimpses of shadows moving unnaturally, the mansion itself appearing calm, yet every wall, every corridor, every object charged with residual energy, servants shaken, some fleeing permanently, others remaining in silent obedience. The aristocrat observed quietly, cataloging the lingering effects of his actions, Berlin unaware of the orchestration, yet the city subconsciously bending to the rhythm of fear. Reports emerged of vanished individuals, households silently mourning without acknowledgement, letters later discovered revealing meticulous recording of each disappearance, every reaction noted, whispers circulating of curses carried by fog, shadows twisting in response to unseen presence, Berlin's authorities baffled, unable to explain sudden vanishings, rumors merging with reality, the aristocrat's influence extending beyond the mansion into the minds of those nearby, the air heavy with dread, shadows lengthening unnaturally, objects shifting subtly, mirrors reflecting impossible images, floors vibrating, walls groaning, servants performing tasks under compulsion, victims haunted long after, the mansion standing as a silent testament to the events, neighbors reporting faint chants, metallic scent lingering, fog curling like spectral fingers, the aristocrat's presence felt in absence as much as in action, scholars attempting to study the aftermath documenting nausea, vertigo, hallucinations, all indicative of influence extending beyond physical space. Berlin unknowingly suspended in psychological tension. Whispers of vanished individuals growing. Legends forming around the cursed aristocrat. Tales of his nocturnal excursions and rituals becoming commonplace in fearful conversation. The mansion appearing serene from the outside, yet within, every corridor, chamber, and object holding residual energy of terror. Servants recounting details of extreme discipline, precise movements, cataloging of victims, and interaction with unseen forces. Every detail meticulously recorded, the aristocrat observing quietly, Berlin adjusting unconsciously, streets quiet, animals avoiding certain paths, children shivering, merchants wary, the city unknowingly aligned with the aristocrat's presence, shadows deepening with the passing days, fog thickening in unnatural patterns, mirrors reflecting subtle distortions, objects occasionally moving, candles flickering inexplicably, walls absorbing the energy of the ritual. The aristocrat's influence extending beyond physical space, psychological hold over nearby residents persistent, letters revealing network of followers maintaining rituals, spreading whispers aiding in disappearances. Berlin becoming a stage for subtle terror, scholars later noting consistent patterns of fear, vanishings, and unexplained phenomena. The mansion a central node of macabre activity, shadows, whispers, fog, and residual energy interweaving, victims remembered only in whispers. The aristocrat cataloging results meticulously, every minor detail recorded, candles, mirrors, shadows, walls, fog, every element contributing to the after-effects. Berlin suspended in fear and legend, the city's collective memory shaped by events, rumors growing into myth, vanishings unexplained, authorities unable to act, servants terrified, life subtly altered around mansion, shadows stretching in unnatural ways, fog curling unnaturally, whispers merging with natural sounds, animals behaving oddly, clocks halting briefly, doors opening and closing without cause, mirrors reflecting impossible shapes, walls seeming to breathe, floors vibrating, the aristocrat observing, noting every reaction, every subtle effect, Berlin unaware of the orchestration, yet responding unconsciously, the mansion alive with residual energy, rituals complete yet presence lingering, shadows bending, fog thickening, whispers echoing, victims haunted, servants performing compulsively, objects shifting subtly, candles flickering, mirrors reflecting impossible images, walls absorbing energy, the aristocrat consolidating results, cataloging reactions, observing psychological impact on the city, letters revealing network of cult-like followers aiding in maintenance, rituals and spreading whispers, Berlin unknowingly participating in a web of fear, fog curling along streets, shadows stretching, streets quieter, animals fleeing, children terrified, merchants wary, life bending subtly, every element reinforcing presence, whispers of vanished neighbors growing, legends solidifying, the aristocrat's influence extending into minds and hearts, mansion charged with energy, walls absorbing terror, corridors twisting subtly, floors vibrating, mirrors reflecting impossible shapes, servants obeying, victims haunted, Berlin suspended in an uneasy equilibrium, the city forever altered, shadows, fog, whispers, and legend intertwining, the aristocrat observing quietly, cataloging, ensuring that every aspect of the aftermath reinforced his legacy, every detail meticulous, every shadow, whisper, and reflection part of the enduring imprint. Berlin, a city unknowingly trapped in the web of the cursed aristocrat, the mansion remaining as the nucleus of fear, shadows, fog, and whispers, residents forever affected, history quietly recording terror. The aftermath a continuous extension of the aristocrat's obsession, influence reaching beyond mortal comprehension, city, mansion victims, and servants all participants in a lingering symphony of dread. The aristocrat maintaining dominion even in subtle absence. Berlin suspended indefinitely in fear, legend, and whispered memory. The cursed figure among tombs ensuring his presence endured. Shadows deepening, fog curling, whispers echoing, objects subtly shifting, mirrors reflecting impossible horrors, candles flickering, walls absorbing terror, floors vibrating, servants obedient, victims haunted, every element curated, every moment reinforcing legacy. Berlin unknowingly complicit in the macabre after-effects. The aristocrat's influence absolute. Presence felt, legend cemented, the haunted, the cursed, and the macabre entwined in every whispered account, every shadow, every flicker of fog, ensuring that history remembered a terror that would not fade. Days turned into weeks, yet the mansion retained an oppressive aura, shadows lingering longer than natural, fog thickening in deliberate shapes, whispers of vanished neighbors circulating relentlessly, Berlin's residents adjusting routines subconsciously, avoiding paths near the cursed estate, merchants closing early, children huddled at home, animals fleeing, the aristocrat cataloging every subtle effect, documenting reactions meticulously, shadows bending unnaturally, mirrors reflecting impossible forms, objects shifting subtly, floors vibrating, walls absorbing terror, candles flickering unpredictably, servants performing tasks with precise obedience, victims haunted by lingering dread, the aristocrat observing quietly, presence absolute, letters later recovered revealing network of followers maintaining rituals, spreading fear, ensuring victims remained trapped in psychological torment, Berlin unknowingly participating in web of subtle domination, city suspended in anxious equilibrium, historians later noting pattern of vanishings, whispers, and unexplained phenomena tracing directly to the mansion, the aristocrat's influence extending beyond physical presence into minds and streets, every detail of life bending subtly to his rhythm, fog curling around buildings, shadows stretching along alleys, whispers merging with natural sounds, clocks halting briefly, doors opening and closing without cause, mirrors reflecting impossible shapes, walls seemingly breathing, floors vibrating, servants compelled, victims haunted, the aristocrat consolidating observations, cataloging every nuance of terror, letters detailing coordination with followers, rituals maintained, influence spreading, Berlin adjusting unconsciously, streets quieter, animals behaving oddly, children fearful, merchants cautious, every element reinforcing legacy, whispers of vanished neighbors amplifying, legends solidifying, the aristocrat's reach both psychological and supernatural, mansion charged with residual energy, corridors twisting subtly, shadows deepening, fog thickening, whispers echoing, candles flickering, mirrors distorting reality, walls absorbing the horror, floors vibrating, servants obedient, victims haunted, every minor detail curated meticulously, every element reinforcing dread, Berlin unknowingly complicit, city suspended in fear and legend, the aristocrat observing quietly, influence extending beyond the mansion, shadows, fog, whispers, and residual energy intertwining, life bending subtly around cursed presence, letters revealing network of followers ensuring rituals, disappearances, and whispers continued, residents unaware yet affected, shadows stretching, fog curling, whispers echoing, animals fleeing, clocks halting, candles flickering, mirrors reflecting impossible horrors, floors vibrating, walls absorbing energy, servants performing compulsively, victims haunted, Berlin unknowingly part of macabre symphony, aristocrat consolidating results, cataloging reactions, ensuring legacy, mansion remaining nucleus of fear, shadows, fog, whispers, city suspended indefinitely in psychological grip, legend growing with each whispered account, victims remembered only in fear, servants obedient, objects subtly shifting, mirrors reflecting impossible shapes, candles flickering, walls absorbing terror, floors vibrating, aristocrat's presence absolute, influence permeating every corner, city adjusting unconsciously, streets silent, alleys empty, animals fleeing, children fearful, merchants wary, whispers of vanished neighbors merging with fog and shadow, Berlin suspended in uneasy equilibrium, mansion alive with residual energy, rituals completed yet presence lingering, shadows bending, fog thickening, whispers echoing, victims haunted, servants obedient, objects subtly shifting, mirrors reflecting impossible horrors, candles flickering, walls absorbing terror, floors vibrating, every element curated, every detail reinforcing legacy, Berlin unknowingly participating, aristocrat's influence absolute, mansion alive, shadows deepening, fog curling, whispers echoing, objects shifting subtly, mirrors distorting, candles flickering, walls absorbing energy, floors vibrating, servants obedient, victims haunted, city complicit in unseen web of terror, aristocrat's presence dominating, legend cemented, haunted, cursed, and macabre entwined in every whispered account, every shadow, every flicker of fog, every subtle shift ensuring history would remember terror that refused to fade, The mansion a nucleus of enduring dread. Berlin's streets forever influenced. Every element of the aftermath reinforcing the cursed aristocrat's dark legacy. Shadows, fog, whispers, and unseen forces binding city and mansion in perpetual terror. Aristocrat observing quietly. Influence absolute, legacy eternal, victim, servants, and city participants in macabre symphony. Berlin suspended indefinitely in fear, legend, and whispered memory. The cursed figure among tombs ensuring his presence endured. Shadows deepening, fog curling, whispers echoing, objects subtly shifting, mirrors reflecting impossible horrors, candles flickering, walls absorbing terror, floors vibrating, servants obedient, victims haunted, every element curated, every moment reinforcing legacy. The city unknowingly complicit in the aristocrat's macabre dominion. Presence absolute, legend cemented, haunted, cursed, and macabre intertwined in every shadow, whisper, and flicker of fog. History recording terror that would not fade. Despite decades passing, the mansion remained a nexus of fear. Whispers of the cursed aristocrat echoing through Berlin, shadows clinging unnaturally to corners, fog curling as if alive, residents speaking in hushed tones of vanished individuals and strange occurrences. The aristocrat's legacy persisting beyond death. Letters and journals recovered hinting at rituals too complex to fully understand. Poisons catalogued with meticulous precision. Curses uttered in languages forgotten by time. Each act recorded, analyzed, and perfected. Historians attempting to piece together events confronted with fragmented, chilling records. Every detail suggesting an obsession with control over life, death, and fear itself. Servants long gone, leaving only testimony of obedience under terror. Victims remembered only in whispered rumors. Mirrors reflecting shadows that shifted without cause. Candles flickering in impossible patterns, objects moving subtly. Fog thickening around the mansion as if reacting to unseen energies. Walls absorbing terror. Floors vibrating. Berlin adjusting unconsciously to residual influence. The aristocrat's presence still palpable in the layout of rooms. Arrangement of artifacts. Positioning of symbols. Letters hinting at networks of followers continuing rituals in secrecy. City unknowingly participating in propagation of fear. Shadows stretching longer. Whispers merging with natural sounds. Animals behaving erratically. Clocks occasionally halting. Doors opening and closing without origin. The mansion a repository of cursed energy. Scholars unable to reconcile accounts. Faint traces of rituals persisting in air. Metallic scent lingering faintly. Letters describing curses that survived through generations. Objects infused with energy of past atrocities. Berlin unaware yet affected. Fog curling along streets in unnatural patterns. Shadows twisting unnaturally. Servants' actions echoing previous obedience even after decades. Mirrors distorting reality subtly. Candles flickering unpredictably. Walls seeming to breathe. Floors vibrating. Whispers of vanished and condemned merging. Letters revealing intentions to ensure influence endured. The aristocrat's meticulous documentation ensuring longevity of terror. City suspended unconsciously. Streets quieter. Alleys empty. Children fearful. Merchants wary. Animals fleeing, every detail reinforcing legend. Mansion remaining central node of residual energy. Shadows deepening, fog thickening, whispers echoing. Objects subtly moving. Mirrors reflecting impossible shapes, candles flickering. Walls absorbing terror. Floors vibrating. Servants' and victims' legacies intertwined. Berlin unknowingly participating in perpetuation of fear. Aristocrats' influence extending beyond physical presence. Letters and journals describing methods for ensuring curses endured. Rituals passed to select followers. Networks operating in secrecy. City suspended in anxious equilibrium. Shadows stretching, fog curling. Whispers merging with ambient sound. Clocks halting. Doors opening and closing inexplicably. Mirrors distorting reality. Walls breathing subtly, floors vibrating. Servants' obedience echoing past actions. Objects subtly shifting, candles flickering. Letters hinting at unseen forces continuing work. Berlin unknowingly complicit in perpetuation of legend. Whispers of vanished neighbors circulating. Fog thickening. Shadows coalescing. Mirrors reflecting impossible visions. Candles responding to unseen energies. Walls absorbing terror. Floors vibrating. Servants' and victims' memories persisting in mansion. Aristocrats' presence felt across time. Letters revealing systematic methodology for lasting influence. Rituals maintained, influence spreading. Berlin adjusting unconsciously. Streets silent, alleys empty. Children fearful, merchants cautious. Animals avoiding paths. Shadows lengthening unnaturally. Fog curling, whispers echoing, objects subtly moving, mirrors distorting images, candles flickering, walls absorbing energy, floors vibrating, servants and victims' legacies intertwined, city participating in unseen web of terror, aristocrats' influence absolute, legends cemented, haunted, cursed, and macabre, whispered accounts ensuring memory persisted, shadows deepening, fog curling, whispers echoing, objects subtly shifting, mirrors reflecting impossible horrors, candles flickering, walls absorbing terror, floors vibrating, servants obedient, victims haunted, Berlin suspended indefinitely in subtle fear, legend growing with each retelling, mansion remaining central repository of cursed energy, aristocrats' meticulous documentation and rituals ensuring enduring presence, influence absolute, haunted, cursed, macabre intertwined, city, mansion, shadows, fog, whispers, and unseen forces bound in perpetual web of terror, history recording events that refuse to fade, the mystery persisting through decades, the aristocrat remembered as a figure whose presence defied time, death, and reason. Even as Berlin modernized, the mansion retained its aura of dread, shadows clinging unnaturally to corners, fog curling like spectral fingers along empty streets, whispers of the cursed aristocrat persisting, legends merging with reality, accounts of vanished neighbors continuing to circulate, objects shifting subtly within the mansion, mirrors reflecting impossible forms, candles flickering in unpredictable sequences, walls absorbing residual energy from centuries-old rituals, floors vibrating as if responding to unseen forces, servants long gone leaving only testimony of obedience and terror, victims haunted by lingering influence, letters and journals meticulously detailing poisons, curses, and manipulations, networks of followers maintaining rituals and secrecy, Berlin unknowingly caught in web of fear, shadows deepening in alleys, fog thickening, whispers echoing through streets, animals avoiding certain paths, clocks halting, doors opening and closing without cause, mirrors distorting reality subtly, candles flickering, walls absorbing terror, floors vibrating, servants' actions echoing previous obedience, objects subtly shifting, letters hinting at continuation of rituals, aristocrats' influence extending beyond death, city unconsciously responding to residual energy, legend persisting, haunted, cursed, macabre intertwined in collective memory, mansion remaining central node of dark energy, shadows bending unnaturally, fog curling in unnatural patterns, whispers merging with ambient sounds, Berlin adjusting unconsciously, streets silent, alleys empty, children fearful, merchants cautious, animals fleeing, mirrors reflecting impossible horrors, candles responding to unseen forces, walls absorbing terror, floors vibrating, servants obedient, victims' legacies intertwined, letters detailing methodologies for enduring influence, rituals maintained in secrecy, influence spreading beyond mansion, city suspended in uneasy equilibrium, shadows stretching, fog curling, whispers echoing, clocks halting, doors opening and closing inexplicably, mirrors distorting images, walls breathing subtly, floors vibrating, servants' obedience echoing past actions, objects subtly shifting, candles flickering, letters hinting at unseen forces continuing aristocrats' work, Berlin unknowingly complicit, whispers of vanished neighbors circulating, fog thickening, shadows coalescing, mirrors reflecting impossible visions, candles flickering in response to unseen energies, walls absorbing terror, floors vibrating, servants' and victims' legacies intertwined, city participating in unseen web of terror, aristocrats' influence absolute, legends cemented, haunted, cursed, macabre, whispered accounts ensuring memory persisted, shadows deepening, fog curling, whispers echoing, objects subtly shifting, mirrors reflecting impossible horrors, candles flickering, walls absorbing terror, floors vibrating, servants obedient, victims haunted, Berlin suspended indefinitely in subtle fear, legend growing with each retelling, mansion remaining central repository of cursed energy, aristocrats' meticulous documentation and rituals ensuring enduring presence, influence absolute, haunted, cursed, macabre intertwined, city, mansion, shadows, fog, whispers, and unseen forces bound in perpetual web of terror, history recording events that refuse to fade, the mystery persisting across generations, the aristocrat remembered as a figure whose presence defied time, death, and reason, victims' disappearances forever unsolved, servants' obedience echoing through decades, shadows, fog, whispers, objects, mirrors, candles, walls, and floors all participating in macabre legacy, Letters discovered revealing systematic method to ensure influence endured. Rituals continuing in secrecy. Berlin adjusting unconsciously. Every element reinforcing legend. Mansion alive with residual energy. Shadows twisting, fog thickening. Whispers merging with natural sounds, clocks halting. Doors opening and closing inexplicably. Mirrors reflecting impossible shapes. Candles flickering. Walls absorbing energy. Floors vibrating. Servants performing compulsively. Victims haunted. City unknowingly part of enduring macabre web. Aristocrats' influence transcending death. Legend cemented, haunted, cursed, and macabre entwined in every whispered account. Every shadow, flicker of fog. Subtle shift ensuring history remembered terror that refused to fade. Mansion central to ongoing mystery. Berlin forever entwined in presence of cursed aristocrat. Shadows deepening. Fog curling, whispers echoing. Objects shifting subtly. Mirrors reflecting impossible horrors. Candles flickering. Walls absorbing terror. Floors vibrating. Servants obedient. Victims haunted. Aristocrats' presence absolute. Influence eternal, legacy of horror cursed, haunted, and macabre persisting through time. The mystery never truly resolved. The cursed aristocrat's presence lingered long after his death. Berlin haunted not by a man but by a legacy of terror. Shadows twisting unnaturally in abandoned corridors. Fog curling like spectral fingers around the mansion. Whispers of vanished neighbors echoing through streets. Residents uneasy, adjusting subconsciously to residual dread. Merchants cautious, children fearful. Animals avoiding paths near the cursed estate. The mansion itself alive with energy of centuries-old rituals. Mirrors reflecting impossible forms. Candles flickering unpredictably. Walls absorbing terror. Floors vibrating subtly. Servants' obedience recorded in memories. Victims haunted by lingering influence. Letters and journals meticulously detailing poisons, curses, rituals, and psychological manipulation discovered decades later. Networks of followers maintaining secrets in shadows. Berlin unknowingly caught in web of fear. Shadows stretching along alleys, fog thickening. Whispers merging with ambient sounds, clocks halting. Doors opening and closing without origin. Mirrors distorting reality subtly. Candles flickering. Walls absorbing terror, floors vibrating. Servants' actions echoing past obedience. Objects shifting subtly. Letters hinting at continued rituals. Aristocrats' influence extending beyond death. City unconsciously responding to residual energy. Legend persisting. Haunted, cursed, macabre entwined in collective memory. Mansion remaining central node of dark energy. Shadows bending unnaturally. Fog curling in unnatural patterns. Whispers merging with ambient sounds. Berlin adjusting unconsciously. Streets silent, alleys empty. Children fearful. Merchants cautious, animals fleeing. Mirrors reflecting impossible horrors. Candles responding to unseen forces. Walls absorbing terror. Floors vibrating. Servants obedient, victims' legacies intertwined. Letters detailing methodologies for enduring influence. Rituals maintained in secrecy. Influence spreading beyond mansion. City suspended in uneasy equilibrium. Shadows stretching. Fog curling, whispers echoing, clocks halting. Doors opening and closing inexplicably. Mirrors distorting images. Walls breathing subtly, floors vibrating. Servants' obedience echoing past actions. Objects subtly shifting, candles flickering. Letters hinting at unseen forces continuing aristocrats' work. Berlin unknowingly complicit. Whispers of vanished neighbors circulating. Fog thickening. Shadows coalescing. Mirrors reflecting impossible visions. Candles flickering in response to unseen energies. Walls absorbing terror, floors vibrating. Servants' and victims' legacies intertwined. City participating in unseen web of terror. Aristocrats' influence absolute. Legend cemented, haunted, cursed, macabre. Whispered accounts ensuring memory persisted. Shadows deepening. Fog curling, whispers echoing. Objects subtly shifting. Mirrors reflecting impossible horrors. Candles flickering, walls absorbing terror. Floors vibrating, servants obedient, victims haunted. Berlin suspended indefinitely in subtle fear. Legend growing with each retelling. Mansion remaining central repository of cursed energy. Aristocrats' meticulous documentation and rituals ensuring enduring presence. Influence absolute, haunted, cursed. Macabre intertwined, city, mansion, shadows, fog, whispers, and unseen forces bound in perpetual web of terror. History recording events that refuse to fade. Mystery persisting across generations. Aristocrat remembered as a figure whose presence defied time, death, and reason. Victims' disappearances forever unsolved. servants' obedience echoing through decades. Shadows, fog, whispers, objects, mirrors, candles, walls, and floors participating in macabre legacy, letters revealing methods to ensure influence endured. Rituals continuing in secrecy, Berlin adjusting unconsciously, every element reinforcing legend. Mansion alive with residual energy, shadows twisting, fog thickening, whispers merging with natural sounds, clocks halting, doors opening and closing inexplicably, mirrors reflecting impossible shapes, candles flickering, walls absorbing energy, floors vibrating, servants performing compulsively, victims haunted, city unknowingly part of enduring macabre web. Aristocrats' influence transcending death, legend cemented, haunted, cursed, macabre entwined in every whispered account, every shadow flicker of fog, subtle shift ensuring history remembered terror that refused to fade, mansion central to ongoing memory. Berlin forever entwined in presence of cursed aristocrat, shadows deepening, fog curling, whispers echoing, objects shifting subtly, mirrors reflecting impossible horrors, candles flickering, walls absorbing terror, floors vibrating, servants obedient, victims haunted, aristocrats' presence absolute, influence eternal, legacy of horror, cursed, haunted, macabre persisting through time, city forever shaped by the mansion's haunted legacy. Every alley, shadow, fog, and whisper a reminder of the aristocrats' dominion over fear, life, death, and memory. The mansion remained, a silent sentinel over Berlin, shadows twisting unnaturally, fog curling like fingers through empty streets, whispers of the cursed aristocrat lingering in every alley, residents uneasy, subconsciously adjusting to the oppressive presence, merchants cautious, children fearful, animals avoiding paths near the estate, mirrors reflecting impossible forms, candles flickering unpredictably, walls absorbing residual terror, floors vibrating subtly, servants' obedience remembered in stories, victims haunted by lingering dread, letters and journals detailing poisons, curses, rituals, psychological manipulation discovered decades later, networks of followers maintaining secrets, continuing rituals, Berlin unknowingly caught in web of fear, shadows stretching along alleys, fog thickening, whispers merging with ambient sounds, clocks halting, doors opening and closing inexplicably, mirrors distorting reality subtly, candles flickering, walls absorbing terror, floors vibrating, servants' actions echoing obedience from the past, objects shifting subtly, letters hinting at continuation of rituals, aristocrats' influence extending beyond death, city unconsciously responding to residual energy, legend persisting, haunted, cursed, macabre intertwined in collective memory, mansion remaining central node of dark energy, shadows bending unnaturally, fog curling in unnatural patterns, whispers merging with ambient sounds, Berlin adjusting unconsciously, streets silent, alleys empty, children fearful, merchants cautious, animals fleeing, mirrors reflecting impossible horrors, candles responding to unseen forces, walls absorbing terror, floors vibrating, servants obedient, victims' legacies intertwined, letters detailing methodologies for enduring influence, rituals maintained in secrecy, influence spreading beyond mansion, city suspended in uneasy equilibrium, shadows stretching, fog curling, whispers echoing, clocks halting, doors opening and closing inexplicably, mirrors distorting images, walls breathing subtly, floors vibrating, servants' obedience echoing past actions, objects subtly shifting, candles flickering, letters hinting at unseen forces continuing aristocrats' work, Berlin unknowingly complicit, whispers of vanished neighbors circulating, fog thickening, shadows coalescing, mirrors reflecting impossible visions, candles flickering in response to unseen energies, walls absorbing terror, floors vibrating, servants' and victims' legacies intertwined, city participating in unseen web of terror, aristocrats' influence absolute, legend cemented, haunted, cursed, macabre, whispered accounts ensuring memory persisted, shadows deepening, fog curling, whispers echoing, objects subtly shifting, mirrors reflecting impossible horrors, candles flickering, walls absorbing terror, floors vibrating, servants obedient, victims haunted, Berlin suspended indefinitely in subtle fear, legend growing with each retelling, mansion remaining central repository of cursed energy, aristocrats' meticulous documentation and rituals ensuring enduring presence influence absolute, haunted, cursed, macabre intertwined, city, mansion, shadows, fog, whispers, and unseen forces bound in perpetual web of terror, history recording events that refuse to fade. mystery persisting across generations. Aristocrat remembered as a figure whose presence defied time. Death and reason, victims' disappearances forever unsolved. Servants' obedience echoing through decades. Shadows, fog, whispers, objects, mirrors, candles, walls, and floors participating in macabre legacy. Letters revealing methods to ensure influence endured. Rituals continuing in secrecy. Berlin adjusting unconsciously. Every element reinforcing legend. Mansion alive with residual energy. Shadows twisting, fog thickening. Whispers merging with natural sounds, clocks halting. Doors opening and closing inexplicably. Mirrors reflecting impossible shapes, candles flickering. Walls absorbing energy. Floors vibrating. Servants performing compulsively. Victims haunted. City unknowingly part of enduring macabre web. Aristocrats' influence transcending death. Legend cemented, haunted, cursed. Macabre entwined in every whispered account. Every shadow flicker of fog. Subtle shift ensuring history remembered terror that refused to fade. Mansion central to ongoing memory. Berlin forever entwined in presence of cursed aristocrat. Shadows deepening, fog curling, whispers echoing. Objects shifting subtly. Mirrors reflecting impossible horrors. Candles flickering. Walls absorbing terror. Floors vibrating. Servants obedient. Victims haunted. Aristocrats' presence absolute. Influence eternal, legacy of horror, cursed, haunted. Macabre persisting through time. City forever shaped by the mansion's haunted legacy. Every alley, shadow, fog, and whisper a reminder of the aristocrat's dominion over fear, life, death, and memory. Berlin forever haunted, shadows stretching. Fog curling, whispers echoing, objects subtly shifting, mirrors reflecting impossible horrors, candles flickering, walls absorbing terror, floors vibrating, servants obedient, victims haunted, aristocrats' dominion eternal, presence absolute, legacy cursed, haunted, macabre, a final note of terror echoing endlessly through the city, never to fade. The mansion and its shadows an everlasting reminder of the cursed aristocrat who lived among the tombs.